Come on in, welcome to my home. Today we're talking about decisions. Have you ever asked a question, so what do you want for breakfast? And then you get an answer that you weren't expecting, or even worse, no answer whatsoever. Oh, I don't know. I remember when we used to go to the grocery store. That was a fun time. And we were little kids and we'd drive down, or sometimes we'd walk down. And they had a whole bunch of food there. I remember the candy section. And you sort of question the fact that as we get older, do we make worse decisions? Do we sometimes have a hard time making decisions? Well, maybe. Yes. No. Kind of. There are lots of things to unpack here, and I do have links to studies. However, I do want to go on record from the very beginning and tell you that these studies are very limited, and so you need to remember that when you are looking at these facts and figures and the information that I'm giving you, because there needs to be more study on it, because they don't have all the answers when you have studies that are only studying like 120, 200 people, and then they're trying to give you definite answers. But there are some suggestions and some things which seem overwhelming. And that's the part we want to talk about. We want to talk about what things are overwhelming and what things really seem to be one of the problems. And there are a few problems. One of the first problems that I always run into is just trying to get a decision made. You can ask the question, but getting an answer to the question can be just as hard. Most of the time, it's always, well, let me think about it for a while, or I'll tell you when I'm ready. Well, that's great, but sometimes you don't have that time, or that, the wealth of time for the wealth of time to do that. So you need a decision sometimes fairly quickly. Or sometimes the decision really isn't all that important. You just want to have them so that they get their input into it, and they turn it into some sort of big life and death kind of situation where they have to wait to give you a decision. My grandmother's was always, well, I'll think about it and let you know. Well, that's great, but that's not helpful. That's not helpful at all. Now, when it comes to big financial decisions or big decisions, I'm like, you go. You just take all the time that you need to make it if we have that kind of time. Surgeries, those sort of things, yeah. But little decisions like, hey, do you want to go with me when I do this? Or do you want to go for a ride? Or that sort of thing. And you can't get an answer for it. That can be really, really frustrating. But there could be some sort of answers, maybe, depending upon the person, depending upon the situation, depending upon what's actually going on in everybody's life at that time. What they found from a study is that as we get older, of course, making decisions does change because our cognitive processes change. Sometimes it really does become harder for us to make decisions. Sometimes it doesn't. They have found that just because we're getting older does not mean that our facilities for reasoning have gone out the window. No, it doesn't mean that at all. However, there is one weird thing which I thought one study showed, and that was about money. Now, if I'm reading this study right, which I said it's all linked down below, in the study they found that when dealing with a choice, you had a choice of getting $5 assuredly, or the chance of winning a lottery with lots more money, that the older people had a tendency to go with the chance of winning lots more money. Well, that can be its own problem, because that's where a lot of these scams come in. A lot of times you find scams where it's set up so that, you could win this or you could get this extra money, and that's what people are falling for. And they're finding older people have a tendency to fall for that more than what they would if they could assuredly get a smaller amount of money by doing, say like playing the lottery. If you knew that you would have a 1 in 4 chance of winning $5 if you bought a lottery ticket, or a 1 in 5 million chance of winning $5 million of buying a lottery ticket, they found out that the older person would spend the money on the $5 million ticket. Because, well, we're not 100% certain. Maybe it's because they have less to lose. Maybe it's their life experience. I don't know. But it's one of those things where if you had a 1 in 4 chance and a 1 in a million chance, why wouldn't you do the 1 in 4 chance? Well, a lot of people are going, well, I wouldn't take the chance, period, because it's a lottery ticket. You never know if you're going to win. But there are other things that fall into this. There are other things where making the decision can become its own problem. And a lot of people don't want to make a decision because what if they make the wrong decision? Fear of the wrong decision plays out in many different ways as you get older. It can be anything from fearing that if you make the decision you're going to end up in shady pines, or fearing that if you make the wrong decision that people won't want to come and see you. Well, both are scary. Both are very isolating. Both can have big ramifications. So why wouldn't you defer to the person who's asking you this simple question? The infamous, well, where do you want to go to eat? Can become one of those decisions where you're like, well, if I make the wrong decision, I don't want people to not like me. And that seems a bit extreme, but it's there. We throw this out there all the time. We are constantly showing people where, well, these family members didn't come for ages. And I hear this among the people who I know who are saying, well, we used to go out and do these sort of things. I don't know why we don't do them anymore. Maybe I did something wrong. And guess what? They might not have done anything wrong. It might not be you whatsoever. And that's something you're going to have to think about. Making a decision could actually be the reason why they're not coming out, because people really do like you to make decisions one way or another. But the other part about this is, don't penalize somebody if you don't like their decision. If you don't like the place where they like to go eat, just tell them that you don't like the place that they like to go eat, and hopefully everybody will be flexible. But not making a decision can just drive everybody insane. While you might think not making a decision is a good idea because then you're not choosing sides, a lot of times not making a decision actually is choosing sides. When you decide not to choose sides, it is a decision. It is an actual problem which can present so many different issues. Well, I just won't do it. You can't make me choose this sort of thing. Well, you have chosen, especially when you're given one of those, well, if we can either do this or we can do that. Well, I'm not going to make a decision, so you're choosing to do nothing. Well, okay, that's great. If you choose to do nothing, that is your choice. It really is. And that's how a lot of people are finding that when they're starting to deal with people who still have the ability to make their own decisions, still have the capability, and everything is reasonable for them to do their own decisions, and they've just decided not to make them. But they're making them by choosing not to make them. It's a decision. Come on. And for people who have to take care of people all the time, and especially if they know that that person can make these decisions, yet they're just choosing not to, there could be several different reasons. One of them is they don't want to take the blame for if the decision is the wrong decision. And guess what? Wrong decisions happen all the time. I will be honest. I make wrong decisions quite often, and I try to, if I make a wrong decision, I try to correct it. But it's still a decision. Now, I've seen lots of this happen where the person who you want to get to make the decision won't make the decision. You make a decision, things go wrong, and then that person blames you because, well, you made the wrong decision. Well, you probably made the right decision for everything which you had the information for, or you tried to make the right decision and things just went wrong, or, as I like to remind people, hey, if you would have made a decision to begin with, if you would have done something so that I had some idea what you actually wanted to happen, then maybe things would have turned out differently. And the other part about this is once you start making decisions for people, it is really easy to just keep doing it. It's really easy to fall into that trap of, well, they just can't make a decision. Remember when I had to make this decision about this, or had to make this decision about that. And that's horrible, because once that slippery slope starts, then you start doing other things. You start overextending yourself and turning that person into something which you don't want them to be. You start making them incapable of doing things because they just rely on you to make all the decisions. Or worse, if they make a decision, you know that this is not the greatest decision, it's not going to harm them in any way, but it's not the greatest decision, so you just change it. Well, in the back of your mind, you're like, well, why would I ever start to make decisions again? Because you are just going to change it. One of the biggest arguments my mom and I always used to get into was the dishwasher. The dishwasher, she has a certain way that she wants it to be loaded and unloaded. And I'm like, why? Well, because that's the way she's used to doing it. And I'm like, but it doesn't make any difference. Are the dishes getting just as clean as the way I load it? Yes. Are they getting just as put away the way I put them away? Yes, but I like to have it done this way. So there for a while, I stopped. I just stopped, because what was the point in me loading and unloading the dishwasher if I was doing it wrong and it was going to get redone? Especially when it was loaded and then she'd go through and rearrange everything. So then after she broke her arm and everything, and I was the one who was loading up the dishwasher and unloading the dishwasher, it really didn't matter. Suddenly it became one of those, is the job getting done? Yes. Is the job getting done in a way that gets it done effectively? Yes. So what is the problem? Don't hold on to things and just be like, well, it's a decision that I have to make. It has to be done my way. Well, no, if it gets done, it gets done. Somebody made the decision. If you opted not to make the decision and things get done not exactly the way you wanted them to, but they still get done, you really don't have much room to complain. Or if you opted not to make a decision and things go horribly wrong, but somebody thought that they were doing the right decision because you wouldn't make it, still don't have the right to complain. Also, third option here, if you make a decision and it goes horribly wrong and the person told you not to do it, yet you went ahead and did it for them because you made that decision and they complain, they sort of have the right to complain about that because you chose to do something that they didn't want you to do and it worked out just like they said it would, horribly. That happens. Own up to it. It's okay if that happens. Just don't do it again, especially if that person is still capable of making decisions. I am not here to tell you who is capable of making decisions and who is not capable of making decisions. You really need to have a professional do that for you. There are all sorts of resources that you can find where you can get people who will help you decide if people are able or not able to make their own decisions. Listen to those professionals because, like I said before, the faster you start making all the decisions for somebody, the less decisions they're going to make. And realistically, do you want that? I think in the end, we all want the same thing. We all want the person who we're taking care of, have the best life that they possibly can have, and be able to do the most things that they possibly can do by themselves in the best way that they possibly can. At least I think that's what we all want. That's what I want. So if it means that I'm going to have to wait for decisions to be made, then I'm going to have to wait for decisions to be made. There comes a time when you can't. There comes a time when that physically or as time goes by, it just can't be done. And that's okay. Explain that before you just give out your whole, this is my decision and this is the way we're going to do it. But let it be known. Let it be known that this is why. Let it be known that I am not taking away your reasons for or your decision-making ability. I just need to do this right now. And I think that will play out better than just, I'm just going to make it simply because it's easier. It's not. It never is. One of the things that you will find quite often is with little kids. Have you ever had a little kid who just gave up doing something because there really seemed to be no reason for them to do it because no matter what they did, somebody else would then go ahead and do it for them. They would make they would make up their mind. They would go ahead and throw away their toys that they felt they were no longer dealing with. Well, that holds true throughout life. The more you make up decisions for other people, the more that they stop making decisions for themselves. Think about that before you do your next decision. Like I said, I'm not telling you not to make decisions for people where it's necessary, where you have to think about, are they in danger? Is something horrible going to happen? But if you can give them as much decision-making ability, even if you don't 100% agree with it and it doesn't hurt them or hurt you or somebody else, let them make the decision. Let them make the decision for as long as they can. And actually consult medical professionals, not your brother's, aunts, uncles, hairdressers, next door neighbor. No, medical professionals, people who actually do this for a living, who know about these things, so that way you can say, here's why we did this. Because in the end, that's what becomes important. It really does. Sure, it can be annoying waiting for that decision, but I'd rather be annoyed and let that person have more of a life, more of a feeling that this is what they want to have going on, feeling like they are in control of their lives, than sitting back and just saying, I'm just going to be nothing here. Because that would make me sad. Well, let me know down in the comments what you thought about that. Are you guilty of it? Because I am. I will totally, wholeheartedly admit this. I have done this. I have apologized for it. And I'm trying to do better. That's why I made this video, so that way I can explain myself and say, this is why I had to make these decisions, because it was a matter of time. And this is why I let you make these decisions, even though it annoyed me a lot. It's still your decision. Because Mom is in no way, shape, and form am I having to make decisions for her. She can still make them. Might take her a while. When it comes to dinner, that becomes a whole nother issue. Where do you want to go eat? I don't know. What do you want to have? I don't know. That's annoying. But we'll live with that. I'm willing to sacrifice that annoying. But other decisions, she's still more than capable of making. And I think that other people need to realize that just because somebody's getting older doesn't mean that they can't make decisions. Just find out. Make sure that you're going down the right path. Like I said, let me know down in the comments what you thought about that. And I hope I get to see you the next time you stop by.